Is the screen seen, sir?
Yeah.
It's seen.
Yeah. You can see the slides, no, madam?
Yeah, I can see.
Yes.
I
Okay.
can see.
Please start.
So shall I start then?
Yes.
But I'm unable to scroll it, I think.
No, I'll be changing the slides. You can ask me to change the slide.
Oh, so I cannot change, huh?
No. No. Okay.
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 Fine.
Okay.
That option, how can we utilize it? I mean, I changing, it will be difficult. Hello, no, unable to hear. Hello, ഒരു മിനിറ്റ് സാറിന് അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യണം. എനിക്ക് കേൾക്കുന്നില്ല സാറേ. ഹലോ.
Yeah, there's a share screen button, green color button. Please press that. And your slide is already open, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So share.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'll be able to do it, Alan.
Yes.
1 second.
Now please put it in the full screen mode and you can start. Thank you.
Now okay, alle, sir? Okay, alle?
Yes, it is okay.
Fine. So shall I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, fine. So a very good evening to one and all. Okay. So I think Pamba is continuing its journey of more than 65 classes, I think nearing 70, I think. So it really requires a great accolade to the whole team of Pamba, right from President, Secretary, and the whole team of Pampa Resolute who are working behind, because continuously conducting classes in a way that many people in and around are benefited. Definitely, it's a very good cause as far as we Ayurvedic people are concerned. And as a person, I'm extremely happy to be a part of it. So I think we have been into our sessions. Lastly, I have been handling Sveda Kriya. So in that Sveda, we had actually discussed about Jambira Pinda Svedam in our last session. Jambira Pinda Svedam. Pinda Svedas we had been discussing last session with Patra Potla Svedam, Jambira Pinda Svedam, and Dhanya Kiri, Sankara Svedam and all in our last session. So today we have been discussing, I mean, what I felt was we need to discuss two important Kriya Krama, Kayaseka, Shashtika Pindasveda, and the topic that I had given wantedly for the issue was terrains unexplored. Okay. Now, why terrains unexplored? Because I think as an Ayurvedic student, the basic minimum thing that any Ayurveda student might have seen from their campus coming out would definitely be the practice or utilization of Kayaseka and Shashtika Pindasveda. And to a great extent, it is these Kriya Kramas which are actually what you call it as becomes the face value of our science, Ayurveda as such. So are we exploring it to its fullest potential, or how is its practice happening? There are certain things that as physicians we need to know, because which I came to know late when I was into practice. So I thought I'll share all those things with all, and I'm sure there will be many practitioners who have their own experiences, which definitely all of us will be hearing or would like to hear during our discussions. Okay, so my contents of the presentation for almost next 1 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes would be, I've divided it into three parts. The part one being the history that flows. Okay, part two, the clinical understanding, and part three, experiences from the ward. Now, why should I speak about history that flows? Because, there are lot many things that we don't know with respect to how Ayurveda survived in the society. When we did our BMS or in 2000s, 2010, 8, all last 20 years, most probably. Okay, we were into an academy which was already practicing things. Okay, but there was a history behind how these practices survived even within the academy. Of course, we know the first Ayurveda college in Kerala was started in 1887 in Government Ayurveda College, Trivandrum, as Ayurveda Padashala by then Travancore, under the Travancore kingdom then, with Vaikathu Pachamuthat, who is one of a renowned physician of South Kerala, being the principal. Okay. And further, there were so many things happening. And I think when we think of India as a whole, every state has got a legacy of Ayurveda in its own way, because I've been coming to know about many detailed Nadi Vidhakta Vaidyas in Maharashtra, many Siddha Vaidyas who are practicing Ayurveda in Tamil Nadu, and then again many Nadi Vaidyas and practitioners in Karnataka, Rasa Vaidyas in Andhra Pradesh, Rasa Vaidyas in Rajasthan. So many people. Okay. Now, Kerala has always had a face value. Probably everyone will be knowing Keraliya Panchakarma, the word, and definitely Pidichil or Kayasekam will have somewhere what do you call it as Kerala in front. So, what exactly is the history of these things, which we are supposed to know? There is no doubt about it, because it will make us to learn many things. Now, let me speak of the saga of Pidichil Udichil. Probably everyone in Kerala would be knowing about it. Pidichil and Udichil. Okay. So, it has a very strong attachment. These words have got a very strong attachment with respect to the soil of Kerala. Because, you know, when a common man come to our OPD and he speaks, what we hear is, Doctor, will you do Pidichil and Udichil? Okay, when we advise for them for an IP admission, they would say, what will we do? Will you do Pidichil and Udichil to us? These are the two words. And I used to get very much irritated. Why are these people equating Pidichil and Udichil to Ayurveda? Ayurveda is not like that. But once I started understanding, or once I went to know the history more and more, how this Pidichil and Udichil became a word by the common man, or in the mind of the common man, it had got lot of history I could understand. Udichil is actually the word used somewhere similar to Abhyanga. Okay, but it requires more of pressure. It's a Malayalam word, and Pidichil is also a Malayalam word. Piriya means it's like squeezing. So something that is done after squeezing, the word says. So Udichil, the word is actually more related with something called as Kalari practice. Okay, martial art practice, which have been using more of what you call it as processes like Abhyanga with more of Mardhana. So it is that kind of, there are actually, there was a history in Kerala wherein group of people were exclusively trained under many gurus who are known as Udichil, skillful Udichil practitioners and all. So Pidichil and Udichil has always been what you call it as a part of Kerala's Ayurveda understanding and mind of people around them. Now, when we see the history, as we discuss in the first part, meticulously we could see actually all these traditional practices. Okay, because you know in Brihatrai they don't speak about the details of Kayasekam. They don't like Pidichil. Okay, they don't speak about the details of using Shashtika Pindasvedam, how to use, how much to use. Nothing is there in Brihatrai basically. We all know that. Okay. Now its practice was live because of some other what you call it as practices, especially in Kerala, and I think Kerala has been a route, as far as I know, in spreading these practices in the what you call it as in the utilization of Ayurvedic treatment to different parts of the country. So when we see the history, it would be very specifically understood that all these procedures were very refined execution with correct understanding of the background of procedures of the then Vaidyas, who were what you call it as, who were actually playing multi-dimensional roles in different ways. But as days crossed, you know, many quacks kept in. There was no proper what you call it as stringent laws about qualification and non-qualification. And of course, when education system got into a more systematized, organized way, our course also, it started with a DAM, then it became BAM, then it became BAMS. Okay, so all this thing wanted. Of course, with more systematization and organized learning and teaching, we gained a lot, but definitely we had lost also something. Okay, so the present Ayurvedic academy, the modern academic Ayurvedic education system, somewhere had lost to get connected to the existing sensible traditional understanding and practices somehow. because I was observing what's happening in Kerala. There were some who, even though people are not qualified institutionally, there were some people who were practicing some things because they were trained by their fathers or grandfathers or something that was running in their family. Okay, so why? Because they were skillful in that aspect right from the beginning. But somewhere our sag of making ourselves accomplished or acknowledged with respect to the modern movement, and we becoming more prone to the modern understanding or contemporary understanding of medical science, etc., and looking at Ayurveda, everything in that perspective, somewhere we had lost actually our, what you call it, as the root of traditional practices. So I think as if we don't try to go back and have its satta, okay, that's important. It's not like we should be, what you call it, as moving away, because we are living in this contemporary world. We are supposed to be strong enough with to face the society of today, but that has to be connected. And somewhere the present day academy has left it because of some reasons. And it was this actual tradition that kept these practices alive in the society that we should never forget. So my thought process, or my thing, and my a very humble attempt would be to just take you through that history of how this Kai Sekam procedure and all came into being before we go into the processes. So I think a first documented work about these Kaya Sekam, Shashtika Pinda, Swedam and all was actually first documented work is a book called Shira Sekadi Vidhi, which was published in 1929 by a great physician called Pudiyedathu Raman Menon, whose tenure is from 1875 to 1965. Okay. So 77 to 1965, because when Pudiyedathu Raman Menon, who is actually belonging to a place called Thrissur in Kerala, okay, and he was very meticulously, the story goes as his father was a great, what you call it, as a great knowledgeable person who knew Jyotisham, Sanskritam and all. And then when he was born, it was known that by 20 years he will be, his ayus is only up to 20 years. So after 20 years, his father insisted him to do Shivopasana for almost one year, and he was undergoing that. And after that, he got back his ayus, which according to his Jatakam was about to finish by 20. And then he was initiated into Ayurveda through different gurus. And Pudiyedathu Raman Menon's this work, Shira Sekada Vidhi, it is actually the documented work which has got details of how to do Kaya Sekam, how to do Shashtika Pinda Svedam, the technical details, which probably will be the area that we'll be discussing today when we are discussing Kaya Sekam. I don't think that I have to tell ki Kaya Sekam, na, we will be using 3 to 5 liters of Thailam. Patient sleeping, we will supine left lateral, right lateral, all that 12 angula, basic things we know. But we are going off how from where is this coming, and how exactly has the procedures to be done, what exactly is the reason for that, and should we need to know the details about it. So when we think of history before Shira Sekadi Vidhi, the book which was published in 1929 actually, and it is now republished under Vaidya Bhushanam Thirumalpad Foundation, which was edited by Dr. M. Prasad sir, and who is a renowned faculty of Ashtangam Ayurveda Vidyapeetham, where I work. So before Shira Sekadi Vidhi, if we could see were there any documented works which were speaking about Kriya Kramas in practice. Like, as we know, Brihat Rais does not have how to do these procedures. So there were 3 textbooks that were giving some information about how to do these procedures, like Pinda Svedam, Kaya Sekam, Shashtika Pinda Svedam and all. One is a book called Hridaya Priya, written by, as I told you, Vaikat Pachamutat, a great physician who is actually who has left his abode in 1883. Okay, he was so senior, and it was he who actually started, or he who was appointed as the senior physician to the Trivandrum, I mean the Raja family of Travancore royal family. And because of his Naipunyam as a physician, the Travancore Maharaja asked him to start a hospital or a Vaidyashala in Trivandrum, and he was instrumental in starting the first hospital or Vaidyashala, which has actually later became Padashala in 1887 actually. So Vaikathu Pachamuthat was the first physician of that Padashala, which is today Government Ayurveda College Trivandrum. So he had a book called Hridaya Priya, and one more book is Vaidyaratnam P.S. Warrior. Probably that I think everyone has. Hridaya Priya is not published. Okay. Now Vaidyaratnam P.S. Warrior's Chikitsa Sangraham, which is actually now available in English and Malayalam both by Ayurvedashala Kottakkal. This was one book which Vaidyaratnam published, P.S. Warrior published in 1905, and it is including many drugs. Along with that, he has given details about how to do procedures and all. Now, one more book probably everyone in Kerala will be knowing is Dhara Kalpam. Dhara Kalpam, I think in Kerala, we all know as a part of that Sahasra Yogam book that was published by Vidyarambam Publications. But see, the Dhara Kalpam, actually that book, which probably all of us are aware, we don't know who has written it and from where has the compilation of the shlokas come in Dhara Kalpam. But it was first seen along with Vaidya Manorama, the book which was published by Yadavji Trikamji Acharya. Probably Yadavji Trikamji Acharya, all of us know as the person who is behind publishing our Charaka Samhita and Susruta Samhitas, that big commentary that we all have. If we see the first pages of commentary book, we could see the details of Sri Yadavji Trikamji Acharya from Bengal. And the most, as what you call it, as a person related with Ayurveda, the most thing that made me, what you call it, as surprised was, see, in 1913, Yadavji Trikamji Acharya from Bengal and Neelakanta Sharma, a great Vaidya from Kerala, both of them together had actually edited and published this Dhara Kalpam along with Vaidya Manorama as Anubandha from Mumbai. Okay. So in 1913, some kind of intellectual exercises were happening from Bengal, Kerala, Mumbai, all these things. So our Vaidyas who were existing at that time were not simple people. See, we have now WhatsApp, Facebook, all communication things. Still, we don't think of editing any work. Okay. In a period, even when travel was not possible, you can see, we can imagine how 1913s it could be. These two people coming together and editing a book and publishing it from Mumbai. And along with that, they have added something called as Dhara Kalpam, which is basically a text. Some discourses have that it was written by Bhoja Raja and all. That's a different discussion, but it was very much to be used in Kerala, because there are some discussions like what you call it as what is that, the trunk of the trees that are said in Dhara Kalpam to be used for making the pati or droni includes Karaskara. Okay. So Karaskara was widely used to be a part of making droni in Kerala. So it was widely used in Kerala, or from origin has got Kerala. Such discussions were happening. I mean, are under what you call it as under the pipe. But these three texts were discussing about the Kriya Krama before Shirasekadi Vidhi in 1929. Now, the most what you call it as important thing, why did what made Sri Raman Menon to publish this textbook were the same issues that we face even today in 2020. What he was telling was, since no proper text was available practically, many improper practices were happening among the Vaidyas because of ignorance of the Vaidya. So it was very important that the documents regarding the practices and cases are needed. And most important thing is, he was actually against some principles in Dhara Kalpam, and he was very strong enough to communicate the existing issues of Dhara Kalpam. There are so many unscientific things which I am extremely against, and I am not practicing it. So it actually, what we call it as, it actually shows the strength or courage of a Vaidya to speak up that this is my opinion and I'm doing it and I'm just publishing it. Okay. So the improper practices without understanding and lack of documentation, the same thing existed in 1920s, and definitely the same thing exists among us even today in 2000s. Now, there are some things like Shirase Kadividhi negates Dharakalpam opinions. In the same saga, we have one very wonderful text called Ayurvedic Treatments of Kerala, which was published in 1944 by Ashtavaidya Vayaskara N.S. Moves. He was a very, what we call it as, if you could go through, it's again not published, we have just a photocopy of this book. What is that, when we go through, his English was so superb in that particular period, and he was lucidly writing it. And actually it was this book that has written about Kriya Krama, Shastika Pindasveda, Kayasega, etc., which were practiced in Kerala in English, and it has got also similar opinions of these things. So he is actually Vayaskara N.S. Moves. He was also what you call it as a multi-dimensional personality, who had his own knowledge about many other things, and he was supported by the government and all. Many, we'll not move into his thing. I was just mentioning these great people who are actually, what you call it as, responsible for making all these things persist now. Now, next one of the person is Panavalli Krishnan Vaidyan, actually, because Panavalli Krishnan Vaidyan is one person who was actually responsible for making Vasti as a practice in Kerala. His book called as Panavalli Krishnan Vaidyan, author of Vasti Pradipam. Actually, he was even in Vasti Pradipam, the book, which again is not directly published, we just now have a photocopy of it. That book also explains in detail the practices of the different Kriya Krama, wherein he specifically speaks about the importance of specific utility of Kaya Sekam. So what is important is and one more thing what I would like to add is Panavalli Krishnan Vaidyan, he was actually, after his learning from a guru, he practiced surgical techniques from Perumal in Vaikim Hospital, which was almost in 1930s. And he says only after, once he started practicing or he learned surgical techniques under this Dr. Perumal, who was an allopathic doctor, he was confident enough that I can practice procedures like Vasti. And then he started practicing procedures in Vasti. So probably one of the first documented books, documented work which with practices of Vasti from Kerala was actually this Panavalli Krishnan Vaidyan's Vasti Pradipam, which includes other Kriya Krama also. But most of the thing he has included with respect to Vasti, wherein he detailedly explained different yogas, Vasti, Anuvasana Vasti, Madhudailika Vasti and all. Probably he was also responsible for moving on to more of practice of Madhudailika Vasti and all. And this happened in almost 1930s. And he was a shishya to Mutakoi Tamburan, and he was a follower of Sri Narayana Guru. Actually, I could understand that Sri Narayana Guru, who is actually a spiritual and social reformer of Kerala, he was also a great Ayurveda Vaidya. And there were so many Vaidyas who had actually trained under, or rather, who had taken Sri Narayana Guru as their Guru, and they were practicing Ayurveda in the ground level. Ultimately, speaking about Ayurveda and all, of course, is important, but practicing Ayurveda and making it useful for the people. And here Panavalli Krishnan Vaidyan's explanation in his book, he says, I am pained by seeing people being attracted to the modern medical system. So I make sure that the things told in Ayurveda must be practiced under any circumstances. So I will definitely practice Ayurveda till the end, and I would like to make, so he was he was running so many institutions, and also his book Vasti Pradipam also explains details about Kaya Sekam and Shastik Pindasveda. And towards the end, one person, I think this almost every Ayurveda student in Kerala probably would be knowing about it. It is Manakodam Keshavan Vaidyan, because his book, Panchakarmam Athava Shodhana Chikitsa, which was first published in 1949. It describes Kaya Sekam and practical application of Shastika Pendasvedam in a detail. This book is to an extent very much read and discussed among most, I think most of the people in Kerala who are at least finalists, they will be knowing. By seniors maybe telling Manakkodan the Pustakam, the book of Manakkodan, the book of Manakkodan. Actually, it is Manakkodam, the place where he originates. So he is actually a Shishya to Srinarayana Guru. And the most beautiful, I mean, beautiful in the sense, all this, even Panavalli Krishnan Vaidyan, he has got even his history of taking part in Vaikam Satyagraham during our freedom movement. And this Manakkodan Keshav Vaidyan, he was a very staunch follower of Sri Narayana Guru. And, you know, he attained during Sri Narayana Guru centenary celebration. Sri Narayana Guru left his abode in almost 1920s or something. So in 1956, during his centenary celebration, because Sri Narayana Guru got, I mean, his birth year was 1856, while he was giving a speech to the big audience about Ayurveda, Narayana Guru and all, on the stage, he had actually collapsed, like what you call it as Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam and all. At the age of 76 or 78. So everyone, because I had read an article about a person who was in the audience during this Manakkodan Keshav Vaidyar's speech. So he was speaking about the practice of Ayurveda, Sri Narayana Guru, and everyone was in a trance state when he almost collapsed or just sat beside, and he was like collapsed, and he was leaving his physical abode basically. So he was a very great Wangmi. He was a principled social reformer and a physician who was practicing Ayurveda very, what you call it as, very staunchly. And it is his book actually which made many Vaidyas of Kerala to learn many things and practice it again. So Manakkodan Keshav Vaidya's Panchakarma Athava Shodhana Chikitsa is again a book in Malayalam, but it describes detailedly about the procedures. Shirasekadi Vidhi is in Sanskrit, and Vaikatha Pachamutat Hrudaya Priya is completely Sanskrit. So one reason that people could not understand was because of the language of Vaikatha Pachamutat. But when it came up to Manakkodan Keshav Vaidyan and Panavalli Krishnan Vaidyan and all, they wrote it in Malayalam so that the local Vaidyas and all could understand. That was the reason. So definitely with this background, the history has to move on. So remembering what you call it as Manakkodan Keshavan Vaidyan, Panavalli Krishnan Vaidyan, Vayaskara NS Moose, Vaikatha Pachamutat, and the whole group, I mean, who were actually instrumental in making the person who might have written Dhara Kalpam, who are actually instrumental in making these procedures reach at this particular point, that we are able to practice it with confidence, trying to find the intricacies in behind of all these things. But it was all because of the efforts that these people had taken. So I think as Ayurveda physicians, all of us must be aware of these great individuals who had contributed to Ayurveda in one or the other way. Okay, now let's move on to this